big things happen to you, you know. Either getting killed, getting shot, coming out of somewhere, robbery, you know, or getting a life sentence. You've got to pay for it so dearly, you know. But at that time, Shaun, to be honest with you, as I said in part one, it didn't bother me whether I got shot, whether I got killed, or whether I come out and with no money or with money. I mean, obviously, we went in there with intentions of getting money, but that's not the way it goes, unfortunately. You know, some robberies you do go into and they won't give out. I'll give you one for instance. It was in Croydon, and it was just a little sub post office around a back street, so it wasn't a main one, just a little sub one. And there's three of us on this, so we had two cars, and we had our ovals on, balaclava on, and I had my pump action shotgun. We've gone across the pavement, gone into the post office. Straight away, I blew the roof out. I let one go in the roof, just to let them know that I meant the business and I wasn't going out there without the money. You know, as far as I was concerned, Shaun, what I was going in there for was mine. There wasn't no. There wasn't no. Someone couldn't say no to me. If there was money in there, I honestly thought it was mine. I deserve it, and whatever means or ways it takes to get that, I'm going to get that. The consequences and everything else didn't even come into it. Unfortunately, you just don't think about them things at the time. So yeah, we reigned for a good few years. I wasn't going around telling none of my family what I was doing, but I was very aware of it. As I said to you before, I've got a very close knit family, and you know, they knew the guys what I was rolling with, because they used to come around to my house when I was younger, when I was living with my mum and my stepdad, and they used to come in, and my mum used to cook them dinner and things like that. You know, they was a few years older than me. Was it grooming? You know, it's only now I realise, you know, they was at least 3 or 4 years older than me when I was like 15. They was 19, 20. I was still a minor, you know. I can't blame no one for my mistakes. I can't blame no one for what I've done and the way I've turned out in my life, you know. I'll take it myself. I made my own choices. And I did what I did to get through that big sentence. So we'll go on to that in a minute, Shaun. So what happened was we didn't have nothing to do, and one morning we woke up, and obviously we wanted more crack, we wanted more drugs. We was living in this new flat in Norwood with a few girls and a few mates. So it was like party time, you know. The money had run out, Shaun, and the girls were like sitting in the corner, giving us daggers and expecting us to give them more crack and feed their habits, you know. And there was no one saying apart from my family, there was no one else saying to me or telling me what would happen or what could happen if these things come on top. No one was telling me things like this. So I didn't give it no thought. It wasn't until years later on that I realised I'm so lucky to be even sitting here telling you this story. Especially after they raided our house with firearms. There were snipers on the roofs. They was waiting for us all day long. As luck had it, they must have thought we wasn't going to go back there, and they left. So we got away from there. So yeah, so this one morning we woke up. All our money had gone. We felt washed out. You know, it's like, Shaun, you don't know what it's like on crack, but not withdrawals. You don't get withdrawals from crack or cocaine. You just get anxious, and you want it. It's a very needy type of drug. So basically, you'll put one crack stone onto a pipe, you'll lick it, you'll smoke that, and the buzz will last you for about 2 minutes. And 2 minutes later, you want another one, and that's another £10. So I wasn't putting nothing on the crack pipe less than like an eighth, which is a 3.5 grams. Do you know what I mean? To get the same high, because as my addiction was progressing, I wasn't getting the same highs when I first started taking it. So I needed more money. And to get the money, we had to do big things. So this one morning in question, Shaun, this is when it actually come on top for us when we actually got arrested. So we didn't have nothing planned for that day. It was just a spur of a moment thing. But all we knew is we had to go out and we had to get some money to fund our habits. So we was driving about in 3 carloads of us, 3 different cars. The cars were cloned, so stolen with straight number plates on it. We had straight number plates off of another car and things like that, you know, cars. And we pulled up outside this little sub post office in Wadden, in Croydon, it was. And three of us, there was 5 of us, so 3 of us went in and there was 2 outside. So I was always it didn't start out like this. It started out with me like standing on the door. So my co-defendants, I won't mention our names, but it's on file. I got arrested with them. So I'm not going to mention our names.
Yeah, no names.
They was going in first, Shaun, and at the beginning of it, I was just holding the door. I did have a gun in my waist, but I was holding the door and I was keeping people off so no one could come in and disturb us. So it started off like that. Well, the more robberies I was doing, the more game I was getting and the more confidence I was gaining. I actually thought I was invisible. I thought I was untouchable. I thought no one can come nowhere near me. You know, if the police come outside and it comes on top, there's going to be a shootout. One of us is going to die. So that's the measures which I was prepared to go to for drugs and to fund that despicable lifestyle that I was leading at that time. The robbery sprees were getting worse and worse and worse. And in the end, something had to give. Either we got shot coming out of there or we got a life sentence. But at that time, Shaun, we was all drug fueled. I've knocked on the door and she answered the front door. We went in. I had a pocket full of crack, thousands of pounds worth of money. And like we was all, my co-defendants and a few of them, my gang man was with us too. So there's about 5 of us at the time. We all went into my friend's house, which was a female. And there was a guy laying on the couch in this girl's house. And I asked the girl, I said, look, who's this guy on your settee? And she come up with some story and she said, he's a robber, he's an armed robber, the same as us. So he's come out of our neck of woods. He was in the game that we was in the same trade. She said he's an armed robber. She said he's burgled someone's house. And the person's house who he burgled, they got a wind of who burgled their house and went back for repercussions. So basically they went back to this guy's house. And at the time he was living with his girlfriend and they just had a newborn baby. So the baby, I think, was 3 months old maximum. This is the story what he told us. So she introduced him. I'll say his name's James. So she introduced James. I got talking to him, and I said to James, I said, "What's your story? How comes you here? What you doing here?" And this is the story. What he said to me. He said that he burgled someone's house. They found out where he lived, and they'd gone back round to his house a few days later, early hours in the morning. They'd kicked his front door in. He wasn't at home at the time, but his missus and his newborn baby was at home. So basically, they kicked his front door in early hours in the morning, a firm of them, 3 or 4 of them, to look for him. So they kicked his front door in and he wasn't in there, and they picked his baby up, his 3-month-old baby, out of the cot, and they put his baby inside the washing machine, and they threatened to turn the power on in the washing machine and kill the baby if she didn't get him on the phone and get him back to the flat. So this was the story, what he told me, Shaun. Look, he was on the run from the police for doing X amount of robberies and burglaries. They had his name, and also this other firm had a vendetta and was going to kill him. So me being me, soft-hearted, I know I don't look soft-hearted, but I am. I'm really soft-hearted, and I wear my heart on my sleeve, to be honest with you. I believed this story. So I said, as it happens, James, I said, we're going to do a robbery in a few hours' time on a post office in Wadden, which is Croydon. Two of my other friends who was with me at the time tried to like say to me, "There's a bad smell about him. Don't take him. We don't know him. We don't trust him." But me being me, soft-hearted, I thought, "No, I'm not having that. I'm going to take him." Basically, quite a few members in my gang were Yardies, Jamaican. As I said previously, I was working with a lot of Jamaican guys, and the guy, James, what we'd seen was white. So no favouritism, nothing like that, but I did feel sorry for him, James. So I was arguing with my friends and I said, listen, he's one of our own and, there's no bad smell about him. I actually knew his family and my family knew his family. So he was local to me. I didn't know him in person, but I knew his brother and I knew his family very, very well. So there was no reason for me not to believe him, because I knew him, Shaun. Well, that morning, we set out to do this robbery on the post office in Wadden. And this is when it come on top. So we'd gone inside. I was the first one in again, as usual. Running in there. Let a shot off in the roof. James was in the car outside out the front. He was a getaway driver. That's all he ever was. He was never an armed robber, like what he was saying what he was later on when he got the sentence amongst chaps in category A jails. He was never one of us, but so yeah, we done this robbery. I let a shot off in the roof and the shutters come down, the security screen come down. There was a Chinese guy in the post office at the time. He was the only person in there, along with the two people from behind behind the cashier, Shaun. So the screens come down and I see this Chinese guy. So basically, I gripped the Chinese guy around the neck, grabbed him like that, pushed the gun into him, put it underneath his throat. And I said to the people behind the jump, I said, right, if you don't open the door up, I'm going to blow his fucking head off. That is it. That was the words I said. If you don't open the door, I'll blow his fucking head off. And I would have. At that time, I would have. Luckily enough, I didn't, because that would have got me a life sentence. But anyway, the people behind the jump was an Indian family. Those, not pensioners, but in their 40s and 50s. And to be honest with you, Shaun, I'd actually been in there previously and cashed some money in there. So I half knew the layout type of thing. I knew where the safe was because I'd been in there a few weeks before and had a look at it. And I didn't have no reason to think that they wouldn't hand no money out. Do you know what I mean? Especially after I let a shot off in the roof, Shaun. So I let the shot off in the roof. Screens come down. I grabbed the Chinese guy, put a gun underneath his chin, threatened the cashier. No way was they going to hand no money out. They would rather have me shot the Chinese guy than hand out a £5 note. They was prepared to let that guy die. And that's heavy. Shutters come down, the doors got locked, and again, we had to blow the front. It was a double glazing window, and I had to blow the whole lot out to get out of here. So we was in there for probably around. It felt like a fucking longer, but it was maximum 2 minutes, Shaun. And I heard the sirens coming, so I knew it was on top. And we weren't going to get the money out of it. They weren't going to hand. If they weren't going to hand over for me putting a shotgun in underneath someone's chin, they're certainly not going to hand over. That is it. So We run out of there like madmen. I got into, me and my 2 friends got into one car with James driving. And there was another few lads in the first 2 cars, which was, we always went on robberies together, whether they come in or not. It was just a backup thing they come for, really, Shaun, more than anything. So, yeah, we'd come outside. I heard the sirens going and I thought we'd better go. So I come out, I said, James, put your foot down. I had a pair of overalls on, a balaclava, a pair of trainers, gloves. You couldn't see none of my face. You couldn't see nothing of me. You couldn't even see the colour of my skin. I was completely covered up. And I said, put your foot down. So we got in the back of the car, took all our clothes off, and underneath our overalls, I had a tracksuit on. I grabbed the cap, like this one here, similar to this, put the cap on, pair of glasses. One of my other mates got out of the car. He said, let me out here. Why? I said, why do you want to get out here? You know, you can hear the sirens going. Why do you want to get out here? He said, I want to split up. So he got out of the car. We carried on with James driving, with the blue sirens going, and we could hear the police coming. So it was probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from the actual robbery. I said, right, stop and let us out of the car. It was on Hackbridge, which is in Surrey, and there's a railway bridge. So basically I said, let us out. So we got out, me and there was 2 mates, there was 3 of us. So we got out of the car. Sirens were going, I could hear the wind from the blades of the helicopter coming, do you know what I mean? But at that time, I thought, because we've got out of there, I've got changed, there's no way are they going to arrest me for this. No way. Anyway, I said to him, drop me off at Hackbridge. And we got out of the car and we started walking across the bridge. The helicopter, what I heard, the blades landed on a field which was about 100 yards away from where we was walking. The helicopter. But Shaun, the guys in the helicopter hadn't seen us get out of the car. So I thought. So we just like went on as if nothing, as if we was going out for a day and we was like going out, just a few of us. So we started walking across this bridge. Within a few seconds of getting out of the car, I just remember really vividly the helicopter come down. There was armed police everywhere. It was surrounded. We were surrounded. There was probably around 25, 30 police there, all armed up. Get on the floor. Put all red dots all over us. Get on the floor. I weren't about to fucking run because they had red dots on us.
If you are looking for a harrowing, hard-hitting Christmas read as a gift for somebody, my latest book, I've written 17. This is part of a free book series. Latest one, 3rd in the installment, Sit-Downs with Serial Killers and Murderers. Link in the description box below this video. From the back, having gained a rep for earning the trust of some of the world's most dangerous people, Shaun delves into his most hard-hitting interviews with the most menacing and violent murderers he's ever met. From serial killers to brutal prison gangs, Shaun has collected his most fascinating and incredible conversations with shocking criminal figures. He explores the life of an armed robber, a man who spent 45 years behind bars, and a serial killer with 52 confirmed victims. That's Delmas Colvin. I had to listen to that podcast again the next day. It disturbed my sleep. It's the most chilling one I've ever done, I would say, was interviewing Delmas in prison where he's serving life. If you're interested in these books, we appreciate your support. Links will be in the description box below this video if you're watching on YouTube. Cheers.